I'd like to open this Polk County Board of Commissioners. It's Tuesday, July 28th. All commissioners present. Extra agendas at the back table. Please join me on the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So first up is comments for not on this agenda. Anybody like to address the board? Good morning. Your name and address for the record, please.
Andy Strauss, 611 Southeast Rosewood, Maine. Hi there. I'm coming today. It's been a little while since I've come, and I just wanted to circle back kind of on a different note, just because more of as kind of a report, an update, just to give a thank you, I guess, or just a notice of what we have seen, kind of a pendulum swing, I think, in the other direction, as far as what we have seen as a family, from the perspective of some of what the deputy DAs have started doing differently, I think, in Polk County, what our family has observed just in the last year. Our family obviously has watched closely over the last 4 years how law enforcement has viewed strangulation cases. I've come to you guys for 4 years on that. My daughter has seen the effects of that. It's impacted her throwing career at Corbin University with her javelin career. Seen specialists over the years in her career as a javelin thrower. But aside from that, the last, I don't know, 6 to 9 months, we were very pleased watching closely the cases. Maddie particularly has watched closely from behind the scenes. She watches it closely. It's just something that she has done for several years. And she has seen both Connor and Shannon Clausen prosecute cases now that have led to cases being prosecuted on a felony strangulation case. So Maddie isn't at a place yet where she's been able to personally thank the two of them, but I've had a chance to personally thank Connor in a meeting that I had with him a couple months ago. I just felt it was important to publicly come to you guys and tell you that we as a family appreciate. I want to tell their boss also that we appreciate that. The agencies that we see that are taking these cases seriously, obviously are Salem. We've seen Monmouth taking these cases, and you've probably seen in the news recently, DPSSP recently took the license away from a Clackamas County Sheriff Sergeant. That was just in the news. So it doesn't matter what position you're in as a person. Strangulation is serious, and it's not a game, breath play, whatever, so yes, in 2022, when that impacted our family greatly, we just see that maybe now the public, it's becoming more out there, and we just appreciate that maybe here in our community now, it's becoming more visible and it's taken more seriously. So we just wanted to bring that to you as a family and just say that we appreciate that maybe we're seeing that more so. And just in one case particular that Connor prosecuted recently, and Shannon had done the one prior, was, I mean, this man had strangled his partner twice, you know, in just less than 2 years. So, I mean,
That's time, Ms. Strauss.
okay. And then I'll just say Maddie's doing great. Maddie just graduated from Corbin University with a double major in forensic psychology and criminal justice, and they invited her back to get her master's, and she's coaching at Corbin and Staten for volleyball. So, and doing an intern at Salem Police in the crime lab. So she's persevering and doing great. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to approach the board? Okay, seeing none. Looking for approval of agenda.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Approval of minutes from July 14th, 2026.
Move approval.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Brings us to District Attorney update. Mr. Aaron Felton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, folks who are attending here today. And before I begin my remarks, I appreciate Ms. Strauss' comments and her, as this commission knows, Ms. Strauss' relationship with my office goes back some time. And so I appreciate her comments. She has always been invested, always been sincere and engaged. And even though we haven't always seen eye to eye on everything, I know that she has always been informed, sincere, and very engaged. And I appreciate her comments today, and that's very meaningful. And I will definitely take those comments back to the DDAs, which she has mentioned. And I know that she's always meant the very best for her family and her community in her participation and her feedback to the members of my office. And so I always value folks who are involved in the system, members of the community, whether their feedback is positive, negative, because it helps us do a better job and serve our community better. So I appreciate her being here today. I didn't know what she would say, but I knew that it would be helpful feedback in whatever it was. So I value that. And as always, I value this time with members of the commission. I notice I am the only item on the agenda, so I value that I will be able to speak to you for an entire hour. No, as I know, this is meant to be a conversation, so I look forward to your questions. I know, Commissioner Pope, the opportunity to have this conversation with you. This may be the only time we get to have this forum, and I probably will get an opportunity to say this again, but I will take the opportunity to say thank you very much for your service in this capacity. I know your service to Polk County is not finished, but I have valued our dialogue, and I hope it will continue. And I value it has made my service better and your feedback in this community better and public safety better in this community. So thank you, sir. I intend to give just some statistics about where we are, some observations about where we are, and then maybe a little time talking about what I see going forward on the horizon for our community and public safety in general, if you'll indulge me in that. But some basic statistics. Right now, we are in a good place in terms of our positions being filled. We have 25 positions that are budgeted in our office. And we have only one opening. That is our victim services coordinator is open right now. And we have put out a hiring notice for that position. And that just probably went out today, I think Mr. Hawkins would say, because we asked for it to be requisitioned yesterday. It'll be out for 2 weeks. We have a person working out of class right now, doing those tasks, which we've had for a little while, and that's about run its course. And so we put that out for hire right now. But as you know, we have a total of 8 attorneys, including myself and our chief deputy, working and the DDAs. We have 3 legal assistants, 1 front desk person as an OS, 4 victim advocates, and that's where the position has the opening for the supervisor position. 3 discovery evidence technicians, that includes the supervisor there. 3 child support folks, including the supervisor. And as you know, that's a 1/3, 2/3 split with the federal government. And that is really money. There's a good investment for the county, and I'll talk briefly about that. And then we have the medical examiner program, which is part-time positions. Again, that is something that I've come to the budget committee saying we need to look at how we can fund that in a different way. And as we go forward in the public safety levy conversation, I'll be advocating for including some consideration for a full-time medical examiner position there. Also, of course, I'll be making the pitch for an investigator position to add on to that in the public safety levy, because that, and this will be at the end of my conversation, is really an area that would help us and other members of our law enforcement public safety community in terms of cost savings and really helping us out on major cases. But I think this board has heard this before. So that's where we are. Unfortunately, all those positions are fully staffed, and they are staffed by people who've been here for a while. And we're in a good place of newer individuals, experienced, seasoned attorneys and staff people, and in between, which is the great place. Because often, as you know, we have newbies, we have old timers such as myself. It's the in-between place, but we have a seasoned group of individuals at all levels right now, and it's functioning well. We have people who are going to trial, learning how to go to trial, and unfortunately, sometimes going on a bit too long about war stories and such that seasoning stories, but it's a good mix. I find right now we have a group of people that get along, like each other, like the work, and thank goodness, like being here at the county. And I thank this board for helping us. And again, I thank Mr. Hawkins and all the groups for making that group gel together well. So we're in a good place for now with that. And the work they find compelling. I always say, my job is to keep this place intellectually stimulating and keep you not bored, basically. And so I think we're in a good place for that. And it's been a busy year. This year, in terms of overall referrals, and when I talk about referrals, that means everything that comes in from law enforcement, from all our agencies. And that means, that's the policing agencies, that is from parole and probation in terms of PVs, but just straight referrals. We've surpassed last fiscal year by about approximately 10%, if you break it down, but I'd say it's about 10%. Last year, for fiscal year 24-25 was 1,941 total. That's between adult felony, adult misdemeanors, and juvenile as well. This year it's 2,120. So it's not significantly more. It was really gaining for a while as to a lot to get more, but it seemed to have caught up towards the end where it's approximately the same number. But each agency, except OSP and Grand Ron, each agency was higher than the year before. So that's noticeable, but I always say that's noticeable, but a trend is maybe 4 years, 5 years to really look at something to say, what's going on here? But it's still noticeable that we're not going down. So that's what happened. And of course, you're going to have felonies are less than the misdemeanors by about a third to half, but those are numbers. You really can't say until you do a deep dive, are we getting more sex crimes, are we getting more property crimes and that sort of thing. But it's still, that's just the overall referrals that we're getting. So it translates to about 100 or so cases per attorney. And that's going to, again, breaking it down to, you can't compare Shannon's felony sex crime caseload to, Connor's domestic violence caseload, to Blake, who's brand spanking new, and Angela, who are handling the misdemeanors, who are going to get a ton of Deweys, a ton of discons, and that sort of thing. It's a different type of caseload, different type of expectation. We're pretty busy on trials, so right now our courts are starting to schedule trials into March, and it's not, and we'd like to have it sooner. Our cases don't get better with time. But that's where Judge Campbell is starting to schedule in C1. He's into March right now. And we'd like to get it in sooner, but that's where we are for multi-day trials. That's a function of having 2 judges out of 3 taking the criminal docket. Judge Park will take one occasionally, but in the summer months, with vacations, that sort of thing, even with the bench, we've had a couple of visiting judges have to come in as well. So we are busy. We are a trial-based office. The offers that are going out are reflecting incarceration for our misdemeanor docket. Judge Lukanen used to say that incarceration is the alternative to probation. Well, given the shift in time with the reduction in funding from the legislature for parole and probation that this board is even more finely aware of than I am, the ability to do meaningful supervision in the community becomes reduced. Polk County has always been very blessed since I've been here anyway. So that's the limitation when I say always. But I've been here. I started in 1999 here. So that's where my time goes back. I was in the last century, but we've had a jail. We had a functioning jail. And then with the advent of the public safety levy when it passed, we had a functioning jail that we can staff. Incarceration of some fashion has been a meaningful part of what we've been able to put out there and follow through with. And we have a bench that will follow through with it. And even with the presiding judge's order for pretrial incarceration, that is a meaningful part of our spectrum. And again, I return to, with funding being reduced from the state for supervision in the community, meaningful supervision in the community, our offers, especially in the misdemeanor level, for retail theft, include incarceration as a regular part of it. So for me, incarceration becomes the expectation as part of offers and sentencing, which I think is appropriate. It's just not a matter of functionality or convenience. It's a philosophical bent as well for Polk County. I found it interesting. Recently, there was, and I'm going off a little bit, but my colleague Kevin Barton in Washington County got some press because he had directed his policing agencies to stop citing people in for jail, rather direct them to bring them to the Washington County jail. And there was quite a bit of to do in the Oregonian around that, and they called the Clackamas and Multnomah County DAs and said, "Well, look at this, what they're doing, isn't that fantastic?" So why don't you call the Polk County DA? We've been doing that for years, basically. So, but that still remains a directive, is that bring them to Polk County Jail, because I know that Sheriff Garden, who I believe is here, that's always been the directive, is that if it fits within the pretrial release order of the presiding judge, there is room in this jail and his folks will keep them here. That has been a function of what we do here in Polk County. And that's been a function of our misdemeanor offers, is because at the misdemeanor level, there is really not a lot of meaningful supervision, because supervision has to be meaningful. It simply can't be paper-based supervision. It can't just be bench supervision. To the extent it can be, you really have to have supervision. Jail is what we have, and jail is what we use at the misdemeanor level, and that's what our merchants need to understand. That is what our citizens need to understand, because at a baseline, public safety has to be effective. And that's the philosophy that my office employs. And I think that's the philosophy. I know that's the philosophy that our sheriff and chiefs are on board with as well. So with that and the schedules, we've had some successful and busy trials of note. And I think that it's important that we're able to be successful with the process we have on trials that get a lot of attention. In the last fiscal year, we've had some high-profile homicide and manslaughter cases. Corral Zavala was a high-profile officer-involved shooting case that happened in July ultimately finished in July of 25. That was the gentleman went on 22 and got in the officer-involved shooting involving numerous officers that ended up in West Salem. That was successfully prosecuted by Chief Deputy Wilson. All one was a homicide that Chief Deputy Wilson did. We just finished the Rowell homicide, and that was one that was very complex. That was the shooting in Dallas that started in Dallas, ended up at the Oregon State Penitentiary. The man who shot his brother in Dallas, that finished up he was sentenced just last week, a life sentence there. But we also have a lot of very complex sex abuse cases that Shannon Clausen is handling, and a significant one was the individual Mancuso, who just got what's called a Jessica's Law sentence as a 50-year sentence, minimum mandatory sentencing on that one. So we're able to do a lot of complex trials that result in guilty verdicts with complex sentences as well. So consistently, we've been able to achieve that. But my emphasis is that not only do we need to be able to successfully complete those cases, those very high-end, complex homicide, manslaughter level, complex sex abuse cases as well. But also we need to be successful at the lower end retail theft cases. And that's why we had a case that we published yesterday, a fellow who was cashing bad checks at one of our banks in West Salem, credit unions of West Salem, got 3 years in prison, well, almost 4 years in prison for cashing bad checks. We are routinely in a place to be able to prosecute those successfully and get incarceration for those types of cases. Again, our merchants need to know that those kind of cases where other counties are not prosecuting, we're able to follow through on and prosecute to incarceration on all of those types of cases. That Garrett Llewellyn, that's a house specialty of his, and he handles those. So property crimes are a priority in our office as well. Also, I would remember that another very important one, and significant, was the Ace Hardware case, in which the person went to prison for when they robbed the Ace. Well, they didn't rob it. It was a burglary. It's not a robbery. It's a burglary. They broke into Ace Hardware, and we had incredible cooperation from the owners of the Ace Hardware in West Salem. Police got right on that, and I can tell you that the owners of Ace Hardware were very motivated. They participated in grand jury. Incredible to work with on that, and got, again, a prison result, which is absolutely appropriate. Again, our small business people throughout this community need to know that we're there to be on top of those. I want to emphasize another division that gets less notice, but also is equally important, our child support division. I'll say that people understand about folks going to prison, and people can relate to that and follow through. But also, I think people can relate to when people don't provide for their children. That people don't pay their child support. That's a priority as well. We continue to maintain, and we're now only one of 15 offices in the state that do child support. This year, one of the largest offices in Washington County returned their child support office to DOJ, and that's that's a large in terms of a dollar figure and volume office, but most of all, it's just another office that doesn't have walk-in availability to its community members. So just from a customer service standpoint, that's a loss overall. But I just wanted to point out that we continue to do that. And again, it's another successful year, because just in going through what Nathan Drury, the supervisor, put together his annual statistics for us. And I think that the most significant one is that this year, our office brought over $4 million since July 1st of 2025 on just over 800 cases. And that averages about $5,000 per case. And that's tough to do. Numbers are somewhat down this year, but they're still able to get that much money per case on average for Polk County families. And I think that's a very, very important thing to do. Cases are continue to be more administrative based. There's not as much court involvement with it, but we still do have that. But I think it's a customer service based notion that people can, we do it by phone, we do it by computer, but we still have a walk-in office for folks. And so that's proved beneficial. But I want you to know that that's an important number for us. One thing on our technology, currently, we talked during the budget session this year about how our technology is becoming more and more expensive. And there's a couple things, and we talked about our software. Our lifeblood is our case management system. It's called Carpel, but it's an electronic case management system. This year, the storage costs, and we're not the only one, throughout the county, electronic storage is becoming very expensive. And so in addressing that bill, which was higher than expected, we started undertaking a project to see how we could reduce our storage that we were storing on Carpel's storage system, cloud-based storage system, which was a very high expense. We've undertaken a project to remove our storage, our storage from their cloud, and that's body cams and all of that, and putting it basically on non-cloud-based storage systems, and that's putting it on microfiche and other basic non-cloud types of systems. To date, we've taken about 24 terabytes off the cloud-based system, and we're storing it on flash drives and that sort of thing. We estimate we've saved about $12,000 so far from that. Now, appreciate that is a temporary solution. We're not putting it on a server. They're on flash drives. That's a temporary solution. There's risk in doing that. If there was a fire, if there was anything, you all know what I'm talking about. It is a transitional solution based on the cost need that we have. There's a risk oriented with that. So we're hoping over time to work with IT or whomever in determining what a cost efficient, more permanent based solution for that. It's not a legacy based solution. If you Google what's the best way to save my data at home, it's not put it all on a flash drive and hope for the best. It's find some type of server or hard drive or something like that. We need to do that. So that's a long-term issue. But we did address the cost orientation with it, Brett, which was to do this, and we're continuing to do that. And to date, we have about 12,000 in savings we can report. Another thing that we're doing is the county shared with us that our printers, our individual desktop printers, are a cost. One number that was shared with me is about $11,000 a year by using those. Well, we're shifting over to an Adobe-based system, a software-based system, and that will cost to do that about $2,300 to shift to that. And in the short term, we'll do digital signatures, we'll do digital exhibit stickers and that sort of thing. I think there are additional graphic and potential things that will make us better, make us look smoother, make our presentation in court crisper. But that will be a cost savings. There will be pain in doing that though, because it's a change. My lawyers like paper. They like what they're used to. They don't like nobody likes doing things differently. Nobody likes to get rid of their printer, especially me. On their desk where they have it right there. I can tell you nobody liked to go, well, mostly nobody liked going to Carpel when we did it some years back. A lot of people went kicking and screaming, giving up their paper files. Now nobody can remember what it was like to transition. I consider this to be another digital transition, another technological transition that we're doing. I'm going to go to another piece that we're looking at, another technical transition that we're going to do, is we're going to start looking at how AI can be used in our business. We're doing it with the law enforcement agencies. Monmouth is doing it. Monmouth is buying the best, most high-end, probably most expensive AI system you can get. It's the same one I think Washington County is using. And to their credit, they're figuring out a way to do it because it is the best for law enforcement. I'm hoping other agencies go in that direction because they're all wanting to go in an AI direction. AI is like anything else. You all have heard the risks. It has the risks. You got to have a policy. You got to have control of it, or it'll get out of hand, and you'll kill yourself. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the right metaphor. Or there will be bad things happen. Or it can be a tremendous asset. Same thing with prosecution. You've all seen the horror stories of attorneys using it to their detriment. But if we don't go ahead and get on top of it, we'll be buried by it. So I am actively looking forward to it. How can prosecutors use AI effectively in what we do? And the reason is prosecution has changed. The law is changing. And this is where I'm going to end my presentation, is that, and this is where you as commissioners at the county level, because of the great compromise, they call it, is how basically the courts decide what I do in a lot of ways. The legislature decides what I have to do in a lot of ways, but the counties get to pay for it all. And more, there's more to be paid for. Cases like Mancuso, like Rowell was an incredible case. I mean, it was it's the right result, but from a clinical perspective, Rowell was a homicide prosecution with extreme emotional disturbance, affirmative defense. That means experts involved. We hired an expert. One of the greatest talks I ever had with Mr. Hansen a long, long time ago that has gotten me through a lot. One of the many things, but one of the things I most remember is that when I started out, Mr. Hansen told me, if you have an important case and you need money for something, the county will find a way. Don't use that all the time, but if you need it, it will be there. And so when we've had a homicide, we've had a complex case, and we need an expert, this county has always found a way. But at some point, we're going to hit a wall with that, I'm afraid. A lot of counties are. You've heard about Lake County. You've probably heard about other counties when you had conversations with other commissioners. Public safety is incredibly expensive. Hiring experts is incredibly expensive. As the mental health questions have exploded, nearly every complex case will need experts. There is tremendous story that came out of Washington County about what used to be called shaken baby. It's called abusive head trauma now, but it's the same concept. That they came in, the defendants treated like a civil case with depositions, with all these things they'd never seen before. They took Washington County, which you think is abundant resources. They ran that case hard on them and took two of their best lawyers, all kinds of resources, and it was draining. I think that's potentially the future coming, and it will happen in lots of cases. DOJ can't defend everything. They're not going to have the money to do it. And it's going to come more and more to smaller to medium-sized counties. I was talking to Nathan Vasquez from Multnomah County. I wasn't talking. He was at one of our meetings. We're both on the board of directors of ODA. And he's saying they got about 20 EED cases going right now, and it's straining them. And if it's straining them, you know what's going to happen to a county like ours. We did Rowell, a lot of things right in Rowell. And hiring our own doc wasn't cheap. I mean, we got a good rate for him, but they had their doc too. But that's going to become the norm. So I think in the future, this is what counties have to look at. And these are the kind of conversations at AOC have to happen. What do we do about it? And how do we get the legislature? Because the legislature will say, oh, you have to do all this stuff. The courts say you have to do all this stuff. But Cases are going to be won and lost, not so much in the courtroom, but right here in the budget and the decisions that are made there, because sooner or later you're going to hit the wall financially on it. And I know you know that, but it just becomes more and more apparent. So I'm going to stop with one more thought. All the things I said are positive to you are really positive, but they exist because we have a public safety levy. If we didn't have a public safety levy, if we didn't have the grace and the willingness of the people of Polk County to dig a little deeper in their own pocket on behalf of public safety, a lot of the things I'm talking about today we couldn't do. A lot of these we'd all be making choices which were fairly dire about what we could and couldn't do to keep people safe. That based on the public safety would be very, very different. And I know you know that. I know people know that, but I know people are listening out there, and they need to appreciate that as they're making hard choices. So I will stop and I'll take questions and comments.
I don't have a question, but I do want to acknowledge your last statements and emphasize if you don't tell the story, Mr. District Attorney, about the value that you see in what you provide in public safety, nobody else can. And so it is important for your voice to continue to echo across the county and with taxpayers, and both in the negative and the positive, so that folks can understand how challenging it is for you to compete with a level of public safety that some folks might see in other counties that they would expect here. And I do liken what all of you in public safety have to do as baling twine fixes to a lot of things like the rest of us do, because of the fact that we have a taxation level in this county that is significantly different than our neighbors in the Willamette Valley. Yet here you're expected to provide, all of you, expected to provide the same level of service that other counties with nearly double the tax rate than Polk County has. So I do want to emphasize that, and I think you're all absolutely marvelous for your dedication to your careers and to the work that you provide, the quality of the work that you provide. It makes me very proud to read stories in our papers about your successes. And I know you're going to have some losses from time to time, just like any DA's office is going to have. It makes me happy, and I don't mean to drop this as some sort of fantastical piece of news, but I would not want to be in your shoes if you were the DA in the county in Idaho that has a convicted 4-time murderer that's now turned the case around on the entire district attorney's office and probably all the law enforcement agencies that have been involved. What an absolute train wreck. And that county is going to pay dearly and for no fault of their own. And so that is important for us to continue to echo to our constituencies that in spite of your good work, in spite of all of your good work, these kinds of things, it is very complex, very complicated, and people are learning how to turn the tables on law enforcement and the justice system. And you still have to fight it, you still have to defend it, and it costs a lot of money, like you say. And I have my own personal issues going on right now, paying lawyers out of savings for things I have nothing, I cause no part of, but I know how expensive it is to be in the legal system personally on a civil matter. And so the side of criminal, folks probably don't really know until they've actually had to be in it. And so that's hopefully very few. So my editorial here is, though, to aid to your speech, and hopefully we can continue to do that together as we work towards a levy renewal that, again, as I've told people, this is not in spite of our taxation rate, but in addition to and a supplement to a taxation rate that still doesn't bring us up to a level of funding for law enforcement and prosecution of our neighbors around us in the Willamette Valley. And I think the important note here is that the criminals don't care about county lines so much until they learn, as we've all been very proud to express, that Polk County doesn't just cite and release, and in most cases. And so if you come here, we will find you and we will put you in our fondly called hotel until we find a date for you to see a judge. So I think that that's, we should all be very proud that we are able to compete at that level, even though we don't have the kind of money to compete like other counties do. So thank you.
Thank you. Your comments are spot on. And I have to say to you, I look forward to the levy conversation. I always do. I'm walking around when people come out, are engaged about what's going on, ask pointed questions. It's tremendous opportunity for us to meet with community members when they're making important decisions about their finances and public safety and what matters. And I never begrudge. I understand times are tough and the tax burden on people is heavy and they're getting it from all sides. And so I appreciate sometimes people say, I just can't do it. I feel that. And, you know, people in West Salem they really feel it, but everyone feels it. People in West Salem, Monmouth, Grand Ronde, everyone feels it. And so they're making hard choices. And every time they voted that yes on a public safety level in Polk County, I deeply, deeply appreciate. So that's why I feel it's why we publish what we do. So they need to know where their money's going. You know, that it's a good investment, that jail is a good investment, that the folks that work with me are working hard and they get results. They in a variety of ways. You know, again, I joked about spending an hour with you. Seriously, we could go into rabbit holes and I'd be bragging through every one of them. Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Gordon?
No question. Just want to express my appreciation for the team, your DDAs, support staff, services staff, the whole shebang. Thank you, Mr. Felton. And yes, we all need to get on board to have this conversation with the community. It's time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good chance to sort of recalibrate and assess the needs and the pain points in our public safety system as a whole.
Yeah.
What we can do to sort of stretch those levy dollars and our general fund dollars as far as we can for the. So thank you.
Appreciate that.
And I too would just like to echo what both our commissioners have stated. Commissioner Pope is spot on. It is amazing as you talk to people in Salem, the difference from one side of the river to the other. And they do their thing, we do ours.
Mm-hmm.
And all of our public safety for people, you go above and beyond your capabilities and what your funding is, teaching the geography of our borders. And I just can't tell you how much I appreciate that. So keep up the great work. And we'll work hard on passing that levy next year to keep you fully staffed in both ways.
Yeah, we will. I look forward to the team effort next year for sure. But I think that every day we do this, we're working on passing that levy or earning the right for that investment. So it just doesn't start next year. And I tell my folks, we're here because of that levy. Every day you're basically earning that levy and justifying people's money. So yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any unlisted items today?
No, sir. No, sir.
And do we have a need for executive session?
Yes, sir. The board will recess until 10 a.m. this morning, at which point they'll convene an executive session pursuant to ORS 192, sub 660, sub 2H to consult with a counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of a public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed.
Okay, we're recessed till 10 a.m.